What if one pure wish from a child's heart could twist the world into a graveyard? The way a single spark once burned London to ash in 1666, or how a quiet plague in history swallowed entire empires without mercy. In episode 12 of Fate/Strange Fake, titled At the End of the Rope, released on March 21, 2026, and streaming now on Crunchyroll, that nightmare becomes real. The fake Holy Grail war in Snowfield has been building like a storm on the horizon. Flawed from the start, missing pieces, servants clashing in shadows. This episode doesn't just push forward, it rips the curtain wide open. You smell the rot in the air, feel the cold fog cling to your skin, hear the distant cries echo like lost souls in an old battlefield. I sat there, heart tight, thinking, if this rope snaps, who survives? It leaves you breathless, desperate to know what happens next. Not because someone is selling you a story, but because you suddenly need to see it for yourself. Right after the black fog from episode 11 swallowed police officers, mages like Flat and Hansa, and almost every surviving fighter, pulling them into Tsubaki's dreamlike bounded field the way quicksand drags you under without warning. Episode 12 turns that peaceful garden into pure chaos. The little girl's deepest wish rises to the surface, and everything begins to break. Streets rot under an ancient plague, servants battle desperately in the crumbling city, and key masters face choices that feel heavier than any sword. The fake Grail War's threads pull tighter than ever, shifting from scattered fights to one desperate race to save what's left. No big spoilers here, just enough to taste the dread, but the way it flows from last week's trap into this living nightmare makes you lean forward, pulse racing, wondering if anyone can truly escape. It's not a sales pitch, it's that quiet voice in your head saying, you have to know how this ends. This episode drives the whole story straight toward its final collision, like two rivers crashing together after years of winding apart. The dream world expands and darkens, old questions from earlier episodes get answers, and one massive revelation changes how you see the entire Holy Grail War. Pacing is relentless. Quiet dread builds into explosive action, then drops into heavy silence, never feeling rushed or empty. Fans have been asking about the cloudy parts. Why does everything suddenly go wrong? What is really happening in that fog? Drawing straight from the light novel by Ryogo Narita, the anime clears it up beautifully. Pale Rider isn't just a servant, it's the living embodiment of pestilence, born from the fake grail to grant Tsubaki's innocent wish. In the novel, that wish to become a magician, a true mage touching the root of all magic, is impossible. So the servant stretches its power too far, turning the dream into a real plague. The anime shows this without long lectures, letting the visuals and one quiet line do the work. Previous episodes hinted at Tsubaki's gentle world. Now we see how fragile it always was. A huge cliffhanger at the end ties every loose thread. You feel the rope fraying, and you cannot look away. Ayaka Saju finally steps out of her fear, running toward danger for Saber because losing him hurts more than any old trauma. Her growth hits like a quiet sunrise after a long night, consistent with everything we've seen, yet surprising in how fast and real it feels. Tsubaki's innocent heart cracks open in the most heartbreaking way. Her wish isn't selfish, yet it unleashes hell. Saber, Richard the Lionheart, stays bold and warm, his choices shining like the hero he was in history. Even side characters like Sigma carry deeper wounds we finally feel in our bones. Every line and glance fits who they are. No forced moments, just raw souls colliding. Power, sacrifice, and the cost of hope sit at the center, the same way they did when kings in ancient wars traded lives for glory. Tsubaki's simple dream asks, can a child's wish ever stay pure when the world is broken? Morality blurs. Is saving one life worth the plague that follows? Despair and hope wrestle in every frame, reminding us that the biggest battles are often inside the heart. It never lectures, it just shows you the weight and lets you carry it. The fake Grail's rules feel even more alive and dangerous now. The dream-bounded field isn't just a trap, it's a living thing shaped by Pale Rider's noble phantasm, mixing reality and nightmare like the old stories of Underworld Gates. New layers of the Snowfield ley line and the Horseman-level threat enrich the Fate universe without confusing it. The script is sharp and heavy, like thunder rolling across an empty battlefield. Lines land with real weight. One simple question from Ayaka echoes long after the credits. Nothing feels cliché. Every word foreshadows the storm still coming. You'll replay certain moments in your head because they taste like truth. Art director Seiki Kusanagi and the team at A1 Pictures paint a masterpiece of contrast. Soft dream colors fade into rotting blacks, greens, and blood reds. Shadows move like living plague. Stillness feels heavier than any explosion. The fluidity in servant fights is crisp, yet the slow decay of the city hits harder. Every frame carries emotion. Beauty here means fragility, the kind that breaks your heart because you know it won't last. Directors Shun Enikido and Takahito Sakazum use tight close-ups on trembling hands explosions and wide shots of crumbling streets to mirror the character's panic. Editing cuts like a racing heartbeat, fast in battle, slow when fear sinks in, pulling you right into the scene as if the fog is pressing against your own chest. Hiroyuki Sawano's score feels like another character. Those swelling motifs from earlier episodes now crash like waves of doom, while sudden silence screams louder than any sword clash. The music haunts the quiet moments and elevates the fights until your skin tingles. Aoi Koga as Tsubaki Kuruka delivers the episode's soul. Her soft, childlike voice cracks with quiet desperation that stays with you. Yuki Ono as Saber brings fiery passion and warmth that makes every heroic line feel alive. Kana Hanazawa as Ayaka pours real trembling courage into every word, making her growth feel personal. Their performances don't just speak, they let you feel the weight each character carries. This episode left scars, the beautiful, aching kind. I felt the cold grip of fear when the garden turned dark, the rush of hope when Ayaka chose to run forward, and the heavy sadness of a child's wish gone wrong. The pivotal moment feels like destinies smashing together, a breaking point that shifts the entire war. It asks the same questions we all carry. How far would you go for someone you love? What happens when hope itself becomes poison? I walked away tasting ash in the air and hearing faint cries in the quiet, wondering what I would do if I stood in that rotting garden myself. Some might say the pace near the end feels a little crowded, or that one CGI creature looks slightly stiff. Yet those choices fit the unnatural horror perfectly, like how real plagues in history felt both overwhelming and strangely unreal. The complexity isn't a flaw, it's the point. The episode trusts you to feel the weight instead of explaining everything, and that trust pays off in pure immersion. Episode 12 shines brightest in its emotional depth, breathtaking visuals, and the way it turns a simple wish into world-ending dread. It fully succeeds at what it sets out to do, pulling you deeper into this twisted holy grail war until you can't look away. Minor imperfections only make the nightmare feel more alive. But now the rope is fraying at the very edge. One final question hangs in the silence. When a single innocent wish can rot an entire city like the plagues of old, will anyone still be standing when the dream finally ends? The answer is waiting on Crunchyroll. You don't just want to watch episode 12, you need to feel it for yourself. The rope is in your hands now. What will you do?